Hi, my name's Sister Ellie, or sometimes known as Helen, and I'm here to read a little bit from my book, Curious Minds. I've written two books. Curious Minds has 9 essays taken from my BA in Sociology with Psychology, and Nubian Minds has 3 essays taken from my MA in Applied Psychoanalytic Theory. So I thought I'd look at Curious Minds today, and funnily enough, I opened the page on Is Psychiatry Fundamentally About Social Control? So I thought I'd have a look. Right now I'm off work really. I'm not feeling too great with my sickle. It's kind of beaten me up a little bit, so I'm recuperating. And so I thought, well, while I'm doing that, rather than be bored and all of that, I thought I'd share my thoughts. And thank you for tuning in. Right, so in order to be able to answer the question, is psychiatry fundamentally about social control? First of all, we have to define what is meant by social control and psychiatry. Psychiatry, according to Drever, 1952, says, a specialized study and practice dealing with mental nervous disorders, generally employed in a somewhat wide and indefinite sense, inclusive of psychopathology and even some branches of psychology. Okay, so this is what psychiatry is about, a specialized study. Okay, and then according to social control, I took some words from Durkheim. So Durkheim was like some sociologist type person back in the day. You can look him up. Durkheim says that a society is like a machine, and the individuals in society are cogs within that machine, making it work for the benefit of all. When a cog breaks down, i.e. due to death or mental illness, it is easily replaced, as there are always unemployed or surplus others within the society. If society is considered as a machine, it does not need cogs breaking down or dysregulating the system. That is what is supposed to be supported. An investigation into why the cog has broken down, except for death and retirement, could be said to be a psychiatrist's job when the individual kind of maybe goes off key or goes astray according to rules. Okay, psychiatry about social control. Well, being unwell, I've had to go for a lot of medicals lately, and people saying, oh, but you look so well, you're so fine, what could be wrong with you? However, when you speak to like the consultants or people who know a little bit about blood, they can see that my sickle cells are quite high right now, and they can see that with our red blood cells, sickle cell affects the red blood cells, and the red blood cells carry oxygen around our body. So once we're like carrying oxygen around our body, with sickle cells, we're carrying around about a quarter of everybody else's oxygen status, yet we're supposed to be doing the same job as everybody else. So there needs to be some sort of regulation or rules, regulations properly attached to the workforce, even the education system, I'd say as well, just to aid people who are trying their best and yet have half the energy of everybody else. I think something needs to be done about these kind of situations. And so now, with like my body feeling like it was breaking down, so I went for a few counselling sessions and I had a bit of a chat with the psychiatrist. They could kind of see what I was talking about, but really they were saying, oh, don't get depressed, go out, find new friends, do this, do that, which is all great. But when you're feeling kind of rough a lot of the time, I'd rather have somebody to speak to who'd maybe goes through this situation of being in pain a lot of the time, who has maybe made a way to get part-time work or fulfilling work that can help, working from home. All these things are great for people with maybe major illnesses or lifelong illnesses such as sickle cell. So I think more needs to be done on that kind of area. And with the psychiatry being about social control, it's like, oh, so are we going to put people in a box of being mentally unwell because they're in a system that does not support part-time work or look at a person's health status? This can't be right. I'm sure there must be other ways around these kinds of situations where somebody can be well probably 8 months of the year and be really unwell for 4 months of the year. I think we're old enough and wise enough within our generations to have these kinds of conversations. Also, I think society and the structure of social control, things have to change eventually. Nothing ever stays the same. And I'm just so glad to be able to communicate with whoever I could communicate with at this time, and especially like over the web and everything. It's just opened up a whole new world, which is great. And I just think the more people can have these kind of ideas, especially people who run organisations, large organisations, they can employ people with great talents, like my talents, for instance, and put them to great use, as I've put myself to great use. So I will be carrying on with what I can do best and looking forward to the future with hopefully change on its way. Okay, I'll just read a little bit more of this. Right, sometimes there is, we do acts and we wonder if we're just being a little bit eccentric about ourselves. And sometimes when we do certain acts, we can claim something called diminished responsibility. Now, diminished responsibility is not something that we can see, but obviously it's something, it's invisible as itself, diminished responsibility. It's not something we can see, but what we can see is a change in the person's character. And the person's character has changed, I would say, due to probably their circumstance. And I think once your circumstances are threatened, either through health or work or things like that, things aren't going your way, your mind can get very, what would the word be? Your mind could get very overwhelmed maybe, and you would make choices and decisions that you would never usually make if you were feeling your normal self, as they say. So this diminished responsibility has brought the person out of being their normal self, and it's not for a long period of time, but usually just for when that incident happened. So here's how I would describe that. The term diminished responsibility is used widely nowadays in courtrooms and during media coverage, especially when no visible cause as to why it has happened is evident. Incidents such as a loving mother killing her baby, yet she claimed she did not know what she was doing at the time. So, okay. However, if we look back at court cases that happened during the 19th century, we can see how such rules came to try and prevent the mentally ill from being wrongly imprisoned due to their actions. The intervention of psychiatry in the field of law occurred in the beginning of the 19th century in connection with a series of cases whose patterns were the same. And these cases took place between 1800 and 1835. A case reported by Metzger, a retired officer who lives a solitary life, becomes attached to his landlady's child. One day, with absolutely no motive, in the absence of any passion such as anger or pride or vengeance, he attacks the child and hits him twice with a hammer. That's taken from a book by Foucault. Most cases like this are documented by Foucault. So what they're saying is that people have these kind of incidences where they come out of their self, they're not their true self, and for a little while they change into somebody else. So what I'm really saying about society and control is that there's so many aspects that probably need to be broadened, and it was really great. Probably they were bringing the psychiatrist in, like they said, to help people to come out of situations that were very temporary but caused a lot of damage. Now, these underlying circumstances, they say there was no circumstances, as they said about this story, but I just wrote you quickly. about the little boy being hit with the hammer by his landlady's tenant. So for that time he was seen as like a great person. He goes to work every day, he's got a good job, so which means he's very in charge of himself, in control of himself. Yet for no apparent reason he'd done this crime. However, I think when we look properly at the case and we investigate it more, we will see that there was some sort of frustration going on within the individual. And when people cannot express themselves in a way that is fitting to society, then sometimes it's going to go off key a little bit. So that's really what I wanted to share today, and I hope that you will support my book, Curious Minds. And thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate you taking out the time and your energy. And if you found any of it useful, if you leave any comments at the bottom for me, that would be great. I can improve myself. And thank you very much.